Hello everyone and welcome to step number 2. Step number 2 is a pretty easy step. It's just fillers and end panels. So let's get started. In the previous step, step number 1, we measured, so we know we need exactly 61 inches of cabinets. And we also know that we've already established our standards. We know that our depth of our cabinet is going to be 22 inches deep, and the height's going to be between 32 and 34.5. Okay, that's just our cabinet sizes. Pretty simple. Alright, so let's get a filler here. Now, obviously, you can follow along in graph paper if you want. You don't have to use a computer program. I'm just using this because it's a lot cleaner. I have messy handwriting. So, all right, there we go. So filler, basically the depth of our filler, or from the front, or I'm sorry, from the back to the front. Let's make that at 22. All right, so I just put that along the wall. Now, whenever you use fillers, or whenever you have a cabinet run that's going into a wall, you have to use fillers. Now, 2 inches is the minimum width that we offer with our fillers. I highly recommend using a 2-inch wide filler. And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, let's take a look at 3D view here. Whenever your cabinet run goes into a wall, these walls are almost never perfectly square. They're going to be a little wavy, or there's going to be some problems with it. The nice thing about fillers is they can eat up a lot of that inconsistency. If you run a perfectly square cabinet into a wall and there's any sort of variation in the wall, that perfectly square cabinet is now useless, because if your door opens up, you might be rubbing on part of the wall, or drawers might open up and they might rub on the side of the wall. So you want to space it out a little bit. Think of it as more of like a spacer. And in this case, I recommend using a 2-inch wide spacer, or a 2-inch wide filler in this case. Okay, real simple. Next thing we're going to be putting in here is a base finished end panel. There's our base finished end panel. It's right there. And for this particular application, I am going to use just a slab base end panel. There's no panelizing. It's just a slab 3/4 inch thick applied end panel that would go on the end of the cabinet run. Now, we want the edge of this cabinet, or this end panel, to be exactly 16 inches away from the center line of that toilet. That's just an industry standard. There's nothing really special about that. We talked about that in the last step. So I'm going to go, there we go. So now I'm exactly 16 inches from here to the center line of the toilet. It's pretty simple. And that's pretty much it. As far as end panels are concerned, you can always dress them up a little bit and use a more elaborate end panel. I usually recommend keeping it real simple, but that's really up to you. Fillers, to kind of conclude of what we've talked about already. Talked about our fillers. We talked about our end panels. Oh, one other thing I did want to talk about here with our end panels. I forgot to do that. Sorry about that. Depth from front to back. You're going to be looking at that when you're trying to order these things, and it's going to say 22 and 5/8. Now, 22 and 5/8. That's not right. Sorry about that. Let's redraw that. The reason we give you only a few options, and it's basically on 1-inch increments for the depth of your cabinets. The reason we have 22 and 5/8 is for the edge of the cabinet, basically the edge of the door. So let's put a door cabinet here just to kind of show you what's going on. And I'll delete this out before we leave. So, all right, there we go. And that's always nice. Let's pull this thing over. We're going to do a little mock-up here for you. And let's make that thing 22 inches deep. And let's switch to the hinge side over. There we go. Alright, so the reason why we do a 5/8 proud, or basically the end panel is going to be 5/8 more in depth. So in this case, since we're doing 22-inch deep cabinets, we're going to be doing 22 and 5/8 deep end panel. And the reason for that is part of our design. Okay, so that we want it to extend by 5/8 of an inch. That way, when this door is on the cabinet, it's actually, these profiles are going to line up perfectly. Now keep in mind this door does sit a little bit farther out than it actually shows here. So the way we've engineered these cabinets is to create a more flush look. It's going to have a better design and a better appearance pretty much all the way around. So it also adds a little bit of edge protection for the doors and gives your overall cabinet appearance just a little bit of a cleaner look. So to conclude there, what you're going to want to do is order your end panel. In this case, let's order it at 34.5 inches tall. So that's the height. So get it from front view. So from the ground up, it's 34.5. It'd be the same as your cabinet height. Basically, it's going to be the depth from front to back is going to be 22 and 5/8 from back to front, and that'll protect the edge of the door and create the design that we're looking for. There's a little bit more of a flush design there. All right. Other than that, we pretty much have it all worked out. I'm going to delete this one, and we'll move on to step number 3, and that's the other cabinet areas where we get into the sink and more of the fun stuff. Again, we'll see you there.